What's going on, Descendants? First, some of you may know that my formula is up for debate. I'll go over why my formula is the correct formula to use for actualized damage in the game, regardless of what formula the game is using. Then I'll go over why all of the numbers in the game's DPS calculations are wrong. And inside of all of this will be a practical lesson in mathematics, but conceptualized easily, hopefully. Before I start, I released a video earlier this morning with the same title and same thumbnail. That video had a mathematical error, so I deleted it after like an hour, but somehow 5,000 people saw it in an hour. Regardless though, this is why all of the numbers have been wrong the whole time. I'll also go over why everyone's spreadsheet's wrong, including yours. Now, that's not saying to not use spreadsheets. I do think the spreadsheets that we have and that we've developed are really useful. And what else are you going to use, really? The spreadsheet that would exist, way too much work. Most likely. I doubt the spreadsheet that's correct exists. I'll say that. First, I'm going to go over my first original formula. Right here, you'll see I wrote 189 on the board. It is, in fact, 183 and some change. And the best part is, it's not even because my formula was wrong. I really just put the wrong numbers in the calculator or something. The real number for this was 183.49 without crit damage. At 189 was very important because I'm a psychic and I can tell the future, and I'll tell you why. So these four numbers and 60 are the only numbers you need before critical hit rate damage is applied. So if the fire rate is 180, you have to divide this by 60 seconds because you're trying to figure out damage per second. So that is 3 rounds per second. Then your magazine size is 18, so it takes 6 seconds to fire a magazine. So every 6 seconds, you have fired 18 rounds with a 2.24 reload. This is the damage per cycle you will do, which is 8.24 seconds. The damage is going to be your magazine times your attack, which will be 1512. So every 8.24 seconds, you will do 1,512 damage. This will happen. If someone can explain to me how this won't happen, please meet me in the comments. It might not happen in real life, like the military does a different formula, but they have to factor in a whole bunch of things. We're not dealing with real life here. We're dealing with a mathematical universe that doesn't have to exist, bound by our limitations. And this number will give you 183 and some change. So this is your DPS before crit is applied. I'll be applying crit in the next number. Watch this clip. So here we have a damage test with Kyle. I'm still using the same gun I used in my first DPS video just to keep things above the board. As you can see, as soon as it starts, a bullet goes down and fires. This is the first frame of our cycle time. And then he fires for 6 seconds. Then the reload bar starts at 6.13. This 0.13, I will open in good faith because it should be exactly at 6 or close to it. This is close enough, I think. And then you see the reload bar go. But the problem here, this weapon fired again. However, this weapon has a 2.24 reload rate. How could it be that 6 plus 2.24 equals 8.01? Which means the reload rate in the stat sheet of the gun is incorrect, which means that the 6.13 could also be an incorrect fire rate. But nonetheless, that makes the cycle time of this gun actually 8 seconds, not 8.24. So this gun's actually doing way more damage than we thought. Just in case there's an issue on the second cycle, we will restart a second cycle. So at the start of 16, we should fire a bullet. 16.03, first bullet fires. So this is the last frame of the first cycle of damage. Now, you cannot tell me that in 16 seconds, we did not have 2 cycles. So there's 1 cycle, second cycle. Each cycle does 84 damage per bullet, 18 rounds in the magazine. This is 1,512. It is this number. So regardless of whatever the video game is calculating, what's actually happening is every 8 seconds, 1,512 normal damage is occurring before we factor in crit. Now, you might be saying, but what about proficiency modifier? What about the level of your character? All of these could take effect. I thought so too. So the weapon we are using is in fact the Nightmare Hound, DPS 170, firearm attack 84, which the fire rate of 180 might be correct. However, it is proficiency level 7. The only mod slotted here is extra ammo, so that I can fire for up to 30 seconds at a time, which brings me into why the video this morning was incorrect. What I had done was I fired for 30 seconds, and then I took that time and I multiplied it by 2 and then divided it to get the average DPS. I did this with the wrong ammo calculations, so that number was just wrong. So if you saw the video earlier this morning, my bad. Just in case the proficiency of the weapon increases your fire rate and or reload, I started a new account, as you can see, Mastery Rank 1, Level 1 with the Ominous Hound. 6.1 mark, which is why I gave it the benefit of the doubt the first time, a 10th being off, but certainly not 0.24 seconds being off the same exact amount every time. That is not an anomaly. So we begin the reload at 6.1, and right here is the start of our new cycle. So at 7.98, we fire the round. 8.1, the round is fired, and a new cycle begins. But just in case, we'll do 2 cycles. And at the 16.06 mark, not an anomaly, we fire the first round of the next cycle. So no matter what anyone says, 18 rounds have passed in 2 8-second windows, each dealing 1,512. Imperial proof that there is a cycle of damage. Nothing affects this cycle of damage except for time and ammunition. If we had unlimited ammo and we fired this gun forever, let's see what we would get. If the cycle is 1,512 damage every 8 seconds, it brings us 189. And that is why I'm psychic. The last time a number was made by mistake. This is just this gun. I am very sure that this kind of formula is what will happen when you play the First Descendant. If you play the First Descendant, your attack will do 1,512 damage per cycle. So that means that some of the fire rates are right, and some of them are wrong, and some of the reloads are right, and some of them are wrong. The only thing that we know for sure is that these 2 numbers are right. Those are easy to test. So this equation is right, but the 183 is wrong, because the cycle rate is actually 8. Regardless of anything that anyone could say, if I fire a gun for 1 hour and then take the amount of seconds and divide the damage that was dealt by the seconds, I will get DPS. That is what this formula is doing. However, there are some other formulas that are more indicative of what actually happens in a firefight. I don't use them because this is easier to do. The returns would be marginal at best with another formula. Now, I could end the video here, but it gets worse. The weapons do not calculate weak point damage or element damage. And this is why everyone's spreadsheet is wrong. This is a more accurate depiction of what actually happens inside of the First Descendant in actuality. Regardless of what a formula could provide to you what will happen, this is what does happen. So it doesn't really matter what the game's math is saying. If you don't believe the math, go in, do what I did inside of the DaVinci Resolve Studio, which is free, and you can test every gun that you want to for how off it is in damage. As of now, the Hound is off by 15%. And this is why I took down that video earlier this morning. I put the 15% in the wrong direction. The Hound is actually doing 15% more, not less. Now I could end the video there. FYI, what I'm about to do is not sponsored by DaVinci Studio, but it should be. I will teach you how to not only download DaVinci Studio for free, but do exactly what I showed you inside of the video earlier with Kyle and Lepic. Also, this guy right here is the one that found the actual formula that the game is using. He even figured out about skipping fire interval inside of the formula, which I'm not even sure how he did that. So that was pretty cool. The video in which he tells us which formula the game is actually using, I will link in the description. You can either type in DaVinci Resolve Studio inside of Google and click the first one, or you can type blackmagicdesign.com and click the first one. Either way, you're going to want to download the DaVinci Resolve Studio because it's free. Also, I'll be putting this video inside of a link in the description as well. This one is just going to be an unlisted video inside of my YouTube. So the first thing you're going to do is go into the training yard in Albion, and then you're just going to take a weapon and fire it, preferably holding auto fire, and then fire it like so. Now, if you want the little timer pop up, which you should, you're going to want to go to the clock inside of your computer. You're going to want to record this as well. You can use OBS. I'm not going to make an OBS tutorial though. And then just record a minute of the timer. After you record a minute of the timer, what you can do is you can go into the edit tab, just click and drag the stuff in. It's pretty basic. And then here you have a crop option, which lets you crop your entire screen, which is what you would have recorded with OBS. And then you can transform and grab it and pull it anywhere you want to. And you can just press play. This is how I've been testing weapons. The reason I didn't do this in my first video is in the first DPS guide I did, I just took a clock and I put it next to me and I kind of eyeballed it and I was like, oh yeah, that's close enough. They're accurate. They weren't accurate. It was off by a quarter of a second. Quarter of a second doesn't sound a lot when it makes up 9% of the only time in the damage calculation where you aren't firing your weapon. That is a big percentage. That was probably simple enough for any of these purposes. Once again, not sponsored. Also, Rockstar sponsored me. So hopefully this is my last DPS guide. I don't want to make another one. I think I have stood on the hill of my formula long enough to defend it, and it is actually the damage that's happening inside of the First Descendant, regardless of what formula inside of the First Descendant that it's using. Hope y'all like the video. See you in the next one.